Alright. Alright guys, so my nombre is Gerardo Moreno Lopez. I was born here in San Francisco, Bay Area. I was raised in Central America, in Guatemala City. I was born in Malamute to be exact, but I was sent to Guatemala. My story is not really pleasant one, so I just want to give you a fair warning that I'm going to talk about a lot of things. They might be a little heavy, so just remember to breathe. As a kid, real quick, I didn't have my dad that much. My dad was always working. My dad's a truck driver. My mom used to be a janitor for Kaiser. She used to clean all the stuff, you know, bathrooms, halls, all that. Growing up as a kid, I had a lot of things happen to me, things that I'm still working with. Things went sour for lack of time. I had to be sent to Central America. That was because in the 90s, in case you guys didn't know, rent over here was crazy. Just like how it is right now, but it was crazy to the point where my family couldn't afford to live here. And so my dad sent me with my little sister to Central America. So I didn't know I was going to live in Central America. I actually one day was there and I woke up and I thought we were on going on vacation, you know, because my mom had gone with me. She's like, I'm going to show you to your tias, you know, your primos and all that. Okay, cool. And then I wake up and my mom's not there no more. And I'm like hesitating because my mom's my life. I'm like, where's my mom? And 3 days later, I get a phone call. I was like, mijo, ¿cómo estás? How are you? And I'm like, where are you? Like, where are you? Like, they said you went to the mercado. And she was like, no, I'm back home. I'm like, what do you mean you're back home? Like, where? I'm here in California again. And I said to her, what do I do? And like, don't worry, I'll be back in 6 months. So I was abandoned. That was my mom's friends, not actually my blood. I found out later on. So in Guatemala City, it's different than the Indios or the farmlands and all that. It's way different. I say Mexico City because I get along with a lot of Mexicans from Mexico City because they understand, but it's a survival of the fittest. I grew up going around, I went to this school that was literally like from here to the office. That's how far that school is. And I had to get walked because that's how dangerous it was. Like from here to where Miss O's classes, or where the nurse's office is, there used to be an empty house that was being constructed but stopped because gangs took over it. And so every single time you had to go to school, you had to pay a fee. I wasn't allowed to speak English because if I spoke English, that would mean that I was gonna be kidnapped or probably killed, because in their minds, they see someone who speaks English like, oh, he has money. He comes from a rich family. And so growing up as a kid, I made friends. Fast forwarding a little bit, I made a lot of friends with the wrong crowd. One of them being MS-13. MS-13 is not the gang that you see on the news. MS-13 is more than that. I gotta give you some history because the one thing is what NBC or all these cute little shows like Discovery Channel, they will portray to you stories about gang members, but that's all scripted. I'll tell you that right now. MS-13 used to mean marca satánica. That's Satanic's mark. It's not until they were adopted by the Mexican mafia in the 80s, I believe, that they adopted the 13 and became MS-13, and then grew throughout Central America and around the world. So that's some history for you. So what happened is that I needed protection. I needed friends, right? And so I was hanging around with these kids. My best friend was called El Ratoncito. That's rat in Spanish. And I was like, what does ratoncito mean? And we used to have this older guy who used to always watch over us. And I thought he was just like an uncle, but he'd always walk by and he would say, hey, raton. And he's like, yeah. Go steal me that light bulb from the top of that house. Now. And there would go ratoncito. He'd jump on the wall, he'd grab over, and he'd come back down and he'd have the light bulb. He's like, here you go. And he'd look at me, he's like, ahora tú, go steal me that. And I was like, what? And I was like, yeah, come on, we're testing it. And I was only like, what, 8, 9, 10 when this happened. Little did I know, as years passed by, more and more things kept going that I didn't like. Something inside of me said, this isn't right. And all I had was my tias and primas. I was the only man in the house. My uncle passed away because he was a drinker. He used to drink his liver to death, and everyone with the Lopez as the last name has alcohol in their veins. That's our family logo, or family saying. So fast forward, we got to the point where I witnessed a lot of things that MS-13 did, and I'm not ready to speak about that here specifically. Maybe individually I will, just because it is really dark and heavy, and I understand that you guys are young, but later in life I will talk to you guys if you openly ask. But just fast forward, it got to the point where I was reaching the age of 13. And in case you don't know, when you turn 13 in Central America, that is your initiation. That is when you decide if you're going to join MS-13 or if you're going to die, or if not, your family. And so I had to choose to come home. And they told my mom, they said, you need to come, ven a traerlo, porque si no, lo pierdes, you lose him. He's gone. The Mara will have him. And that's when they go pick up all the 13-year-olds and they take them up and either join the gang or your family is threatened. And so I caught a flight, came home to California, started middle school. First thing I know is that everyone's judging me because I have broken English. And then everyone was judging me because the Americans were judging me because I was broken English, right? But then the Latinos were judging me because I was born here. So it was crazy because they were like, you're not a real Latino, you don't know. You were born here, you have papeles, you have rights. And I was like, I just came from Central America right now. I went through the same stuff you did. I saw things that you did and worse. And so then, here I go again trying to fit in with people, and I started hanging out with the Sureños. Not gonna lie. Why did I hang out with the Sureños? Because they were the only ones who were blue, and in Central America, if you wear red, that means that you're calling for attention. I didn't wear blue because I like to be blue. I wore blue because that's the only thing you're allowed to wear in Central America. Now, mind you, I didn't join the gang. I just kicked it with them because they're the only ones in the whole school, in my middle school, that played soccer. And so I like to play soccer, so I was like, I'm going to play soccer with the Latinos. Little did I know they were Sureños, so I was like, okay, whatever that means. In my head, 13-year-old, what does Sureño mean? I'm like, all I know is MS-13 and 18, whatever that. Like, what's blue and what's red? I didn't even know at that time. And then I started learning, oh, okay. And then it got weird because I made a lot of friends, and a lot of their issues that they had was issues that I went through. Them being abandoned, them going through hardships, seeing a lot of dark things as a kid. And it got to a point when we all reached high school, they asked me, I remember the first week I started high school, a lot of them, I got checked, like they say, by the norteños, 40 of them. Never forget, we're all going to Great Mall, and I didn't know how you're supposed to dress. You know, I was just dressing like my friends, Dickies, white shirt, whatever. You know, I didn't give it to. I was crazy. I'm not gonna lie. And so I'm just gonna go. And we got jumped by 40 norteños at the mall while everyone watched. And it was that time I was like, what am I doing with these guys? Like, I thought they were cool, like we're just hanging out, but It's not until my eye was gashing open and I'm in the ER getting stitches that I realized, you know what, I care about myself no matter who I'm with. And so I stopped. I was like, you know, you guys, I love you guys. I straight up said, like, I love you guys, but y'all got me jumped for no reason at all. And I even told them, like, I get how you guys have this red and blues thing going on, but not for me, because I've seen worse things and you guys just talk. I don't care what color it is, I straight up told all of them. And this was at high school, I was told all of them, they were all about to fight. And I was like, I don't care what color you are, you guys are all stupid because you're all Latinos and you all come from the same ancestors. And the only reason why I wear blue is because I came from Central America, and if I wore blue, I'd be killed. I mean, if I wore red, I'd be killed. And then they were like, that's when they stayed quiet. And that's when the teacher saw me and pulled me to the side and said, you need to really think about who you're with and what you're doing, because you have a lot of potential. Now, I know what I said is really intense, and sorry if I'm going too fast because it's really hard for me to open up like this. But there were times when even teachers would check me and they would say to me, I had a teacher once, and that's what started it all in high school, say to me, you know what, Moreno, you say you want to go to college? You're not even going to graduate high school. You're going to be like every other Latino I know. Dead, locked up, or in prison. Trust me, I'll see you. I'll pass by your grave. I was pissed like no other day. Because as bad a kid as I was, I had a 3.5 GPA no matter what, all throughout high school. And so what I did is I straight up stood up, me being the little cholito kid, you know, like, oh, you know, I straight up said, how about you go check my grades, mother? Ooh. As he's writing the referral. Did you check my grades? Because when he said that to me, I looked around and I saw all the Latino kids put their heads down like this. And I said to myself, oh, hell no. And so I stood up and I said that. And then he just went to the computer. And I remember that the teacher, there was 2 other teachers in the classroom watching this whole thing go down. And it all started out because I was making another teacher laughed, who just walked into the class. I was like, hey, Miss Fitzgerald, ¿cómo estás? And she was like, just some old viejita, you know, gordita, and she's white. And I would always, like, I wouldn't make fun of her, but I would always, like, pull her leg, and I would tell her, hey, why don't you smile more, you know, stuff like that. And she liked that. But Mr. Abraham on the side, and I'm saying his name because to this day I'll never forget his name, Mr. Abraham, straight up said that to me, and as he walked to the computer and checked my grades, he stayed quiet and didn't say anything. And so I got the referral and I crumbled it up and I said, you know why this muff is not saying anything? Because I'm the only one in this class who has a 3.5 GPA. And just because he sees me wearing this, or the way I act, he's trying to treat me like if I'm less. And I grabbed it and I threw it at his face. Yes, I got suspended. Yes, I had to talk to with my mom. But as much as I love my mom, she even straight up told the office, you know what? Mi hijo, yo no meto las manos en el fuego. Meaning in English, or in Spanish, she says, I don't put my hands in the fire for my kid. The one thing I know about Gerardo, he will fight for himself. He has his own. He'll always fight. So either you guys did something or he needs to get checked. But you guys, I would check twice before you call me into the office, because I know Gerardo cares so much about his school that he wouldn't mess it up. And so slowly I started phasing out of hanging out with gang members. And then, like, it was weird because then after all that altercation and all that fighting, the norteños wanted to hang out with me, or wanted me to hang out with them, because it took literally me dating a girl who was a family of the norteños that I didn't even know. Straight up tell them, you know, he's not a sureño, or he's not a scrap. You know that, right? And they were all like, what? Yeah, he's just from Central America, and he was raised by a Salvadorian family. And one of the veteranos or OGs was like, I got mad respect for you, dog. And then I sat there and I was kicking it with him in Eastside San Jose, 16 years old, and I was just chilling and I was like, what am I doing here again? And straight up, they were teaching me, they're like, we got a contract, we got these rules, you'd be benefit to the Norte, you can also translate and this and that, and we have a whole constitution too. We're straight up, we got our down. And then they even tell me, like, if you ever get checked by a norteño, you just gotta tell them straight up where you're from, and if they're a true norteño, they would understand and they wouldn't fight you. But the little wannabes, even if you tell them you're not a scrap and they want to fight you, that's not a real norteño, because a real norteño respeta. And I was like, okay. In the back of my head, I was like, I need to get the hell out of here. I kept finding myself with gang members, and so more and more I focused on school, the more loner I became, because all of the friends I ever knew was gang members or at risk or cholos. I don't see it as risk. I just see it as these kids came from places that are really heavy, and society or the school culture made it that they have to hang out with themselves. You think the güeritos, or not to be racist here, but like the white people at the school I went to, they were embracing of Latinos. The only time they would come say hi to us was when, like, you had like Stephanie come by and like, hi, my name's Stephanie. I'm here practicing my Spanish. And I'm like, cállate, cabrón. No disrespect, but that's just the way it was in my high school. It's different here. In my high school, not even the African Americans hung out with the Latinos. African Americans were underneath the tree. Latinos were in the lunchroom. The norteños, though, would hang out with the African Americans if they were bloods. Really weird. I didn't know about gangs here in the States until I came back. And so when I graduated, I was trying really hard to save as many of my friends as I could from gang life. One of them being Jose Morales. Jose was like uña y mugre, like they say in Spanish. Nail and dirt. That's how we were. That was my ride or die. That was my homie for life. We even started a whole slogan. We're like, pocos pero locos. Every single time. Jose was killed 2 blocks away from my house. Jose and I were supposed to kick it that day. I was supposed to tell him about how much I wanted him to work hard to do something for his son, because he just had a kid at, 19? So, yeah. I was walking home from I think it was work or someplace, and I was like, I don't know, why is there so much commotion down the street? And like, he literally lives 2 blocks away from me. When you see your best friend on the floor and her mom and his mom crying his eyes out, I don't wish that upon any of you, but it's one of the worst feelings in the world. Even worse than all the crazy stuff I saw in Central America. Why? Because I actually knew this person and I cared so much about this person because I was trying to save that person. Because I knew if I could make it and graduate high school and get into at least community college to like start working, and then at the same time I was working with At Risk in Mountain View. I started working with At Risk because I even told the admin when they tried to hire me, they're like, what makes you so good about working with at-risk kids? What can you offer to them? I am an at-risk kid. That's the first thing I said to them. Like, you know me. I graduated from these high schools, from these middle schools. You saw me come from nowhere, from the toughest places on earth, from the darkest place on earth, and come out and graduate? You're gonna think these kids aren't gonna be motivated by that? And that's when I got hired. And that's when I started working with kids. Because I knew that no matter who you kick it with, no matter what your family's probably taught you, I know deep inside each and every kid I work with or met, they care about themselves. Whether they might not show it or not, they care about themselves. I know you guys care about yourselves enough that you're not gonna let your guys' self fall. You might trip a couple times and eat it, But like they say in Spanish, a la séptima se levanta. Es permitido caerse, pero es obligado levantarse. Ooh, I got chills with that one. That means in Spanish, it means at the 7th fall, you get up. It is okay to fall, but it is mandatory to get up. That is one thing that I learned growing up. Now, that is why, if you've noticed, if you've worked with me, if you've seen how my style is, how my attitude is at times, it might be a little intense. I still am working with a lot of things. I'm not perfect. I'm still working with a lot of trauma, with a lot of anxiety, with a lot of issues that I still have when I was a kid, growing up in Central America. But this is why I'm here every day, talking to all of you, and not just you guys, but any kid that I work with, no matter what school I go to, because I know how crazy and dark the world can get. And unfortunately, especially Latinos, we don't have the tools in the toolbox as Latinos, or our parents even, to show us how to work with the trauma and to get over it. We hold on to trauma as Latinos and put it onto our identity and base our whole identity of who we think we are based off that trauma. And that is why it's so hard for us to let go. How many of you guys can mention, like, oh, I got that one tío que he's always se pone pedo, he always gets drunk, he's gonna start llorando, you don't get it. I always had that tío. Or you have that one tía, or my mom, for example. Se ponía bien peda, she's like, ahorita me la voy a chingar. Takes off the shoes, aguántamelos. I love my mama, but she throws down too. And that's, like I said, that's just a short version of my whole story, because if I were to really go through detail for detail, it'd be really long, and I don't want to bore you guys with my story. And it's also a lot to take in just this amount of time. For now, that's all I have for you guys. So yeah. Questions, comments, concerns? Feel free. No judgment. Yeah.
Did you always think about, like, what if you didn't leave, like, the Central area?
If I didn't leave Central America, I think about that, because right before I left, actually, I forgot to mention this. MS-13 told me, no regreses, porque sería la última vez que vas a vivir. They told me, the last time you come back. I've been told that they've all died, because, you know, gang life has a short life. Like it or not, it does. And so, technically I could go back, but I'm not going to risk it. My life, everything I worked for. But if I would have stayed, I either had to either join or die. And I know myself, I don't want to die, so I'd probably be be dead now, because I would have joined and I would have been shot by another gang or something. Or locked up. Yeah?
Who took care of you when you were at Mexico?
Central America. So,
Guatemala.
in Guatemala, my aunt, mi tía María, she's actually my mom's cousin, because I found out years later that my mom and her brothers were abandoned as well. Notice how this is like a family trend, abandoning their kids, right? They were abandoned as well, and so my mom's cousins, my mom's aunt adopted them. And so they all grew up as siblings, as brother, you know, primo hermana, you've heard that term probably, or primos are like brothers sometimes, not in my family though. Yeah, so I was raised by them. Miss Tia Maria was really an intense woman. She was a bruja at the same time. And I swear, and I honestly say, magic is real, because I saw her do a lot of things that you're not supposed to do when it comes to, because there's a lot of spirituality in Central America. And so, yeah, she did a lot of things that I was like, whoa, you know.
Your tia was a bruja?
Yeah, she would like pray to the devil and stuff.
She didn't believe in God at all?
Only when she needed help.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm being honest with you. Anything else? Any questions? Yeah.
Okay, off topic. What the college that you are like right now?
Yeah.
What is it, and like, what do you like about it? Like the campus?
So I'm at San Francisco State. I love the campus because I couldn't leave home. Well, I got accepted to a 4-year university called Whittier. It was a private university. They had given me $30,000 in grants, and I denied them because something in my heart said I had to be with my mom. My dad, I love him, but that's my dad. And my sister, I love her. I love her too, but that's my dad's daughter. I love them, but me and my mom have this connection that I can't just leave my mom like that. I love my family as a whole, but even my sister and my dad will say me and my mom have a special relationship because she's seen me go through that. And years later, I did actually tell my mom, I told her everything that I just told you. And she told me, I sent you there because I wanted you to realize and learn how it is to grow up in a third world country. I didn't ever imagine you were going to go through all that. Because she thought she was sending money, like every month, I'm going to send a little money for they can take them out to eat, take them out to the park. You think my tia was buying me stuff? I was eating freaking tacos with chicharrón for breakfast. Going out to, like lunchtime, there was no lunch. Dinner, what was dinner? Taquitos de frijol. Yeah, but any more questions? Yeah?
Are you still like friends with the volcanoes?
No, I cut all of them off.
Well,
I cut off the gangs. I cut off my family, my extended family, like the family in Central America, the family connected to my mom, all of them, because they're, as much as I love my family and we are Latinos, we're taught to be connected to our family. My family is toxic, and in order for me to grow, I have to cut that toxic people out of my life, even if that makes me a loner.
how did you leave the game? Like,
Which one?
the Latino.
So, like I've said previous, I never got jumped in. They always wanted me to join. I kicked it with a lot of them. I kicked it with red and blue, and I learned a lot from them. There's so much I learned that is the reason why I can talk to kids, to be quite honest. Because I realize now, okay, this is how the way is. But
Was it tough?
it was tough because, them keying my car, them breaking into my car, them trying to find me because I wasn't kicking it with them anymore. That meant that's the only way you get out.
But you didn't tell them straight up that you're leaving, right?
No, I just stopped kicking it. And then they started realizing that okay, Gerardo's going to school, I love people, as much as people will look at them as negative, I love the fact that they respected that I still wanted to graduate. And I think that's why they wanted me in their gangs. No matter who it was, because they saw that I always wanted to go to school. I was always smart. Whenever we got pulled over for doing things that we're not supposed to, I would straight up I would be the one talking to the cop. Like I got pulled over even in Palo Alto, kicking it with them, and they were trying to arrest us. So first of all, we're just driving down from Skyline, and our tags are good. We just don't have the license. The security insurance. We just don't have the insurance card with us. But you can. And I looked at the police officer, and you can look it up on the number, and you'll see that it's insured. The police officer was like, "How do you know so much?" I'm like, "Because I go to school." That got me in trouble too, but they always try to pull you to say you should really think about who you're hanging out with. Or something. I know, I got it. I get that a lot. I sort of said that, so yeah. Any more questions? Yeah.
How do you face the challenges in your background?
How do I face the challenges in my background? So as a Latino, it's hard, but there's a whole umbrella that is the elephant in the room. One thing is being Latino, right? But underneath that umbrella, and this is even true even at this school as well that I've noticed, we're separate. There's Mexicanos, there's Central Americans, there's Suramericanos, and as much as they all talk to each other, they don't really hang out with each other. They really don't spend time, as a culture together. Growing up, it was hard because I really vouched for Latinos. I marché, wore all white and everything, those marchas that we had a couple years ago, like legalize my mom, like helping out my friend, fighting for them, But one thing that they taught me in high school was the story of the crabs, and this is why I want to really end with you guys. Have you ever heard the story of the crabs? So if you have 2 buckets in front of you, right? You have one bucket full of Latino crabs. These are crabs, cangrejos de Latinos. And you have one other bucket full with cangrejos from China. You go home and you come back, you realize and see something. The Latino crabs, as one starts climbing up, all the other crabs come together to pull that crab down. If you look at the Asian crabs, they stack on one upon each other and wait for the last one to jump out. That is the difference between the Latino race and the Asian race. That's what I was taught in high school. That's really, I know, right? Imagine me being, but it's a sad reality though. Because as Latinos, we have a lot of envidia. We're taught that. You watch telenovelas that, machismo, attitude. How dare you have more than me? You slept with my wife. Any more questions? Yeah?
What affected you more in life?
What affected me most?
Yeah.
Seeing my brother dead on the floor. I think it was actually that day I swore that I was gonna help out as many kids as I could. And so whenever I work with any kid that claims to be red or blue, all I see is Jose. That's why I don't care when even admin, sometimes teachers would say to me, Gerardo or Mr. Moreno, you need to watch what you say to the kids. Like, you need to be more professional. You need to remember you're a role model. I straight up, in my back of my head, I'm like, see, sorry. But in the back of my head, like, you don't get it. You don't get what they're going through. I've met people who are 55 years old and act childish. Where I've met a 16-year-old who has gone through more life than an 80-year-old. I've had to learn to not judge kids by their age, but by their character instead. So yeah. Any more questions? Yeah.
What's the major that you wanted to do when you were younger?
When I was younger, business and administration. Why? Because I was like, I want this money. I used to say I want to retire when I'm 35. I want to have, what was it? Back then, I wanted the Viper so bad.
Oh.
And then I was like, I'm gonna get the Enzio, but then I saw that one guy who crashed it. I was like, no, I don't want the Enzio no more because it's too delicate. I'm over here, like, like if I already had the money, right? I'm like, oh no, I don't want the Enzio. I'd rather go with the Aventador here. ¿Con qué dinero?
And what made the change?
What made the change? I started healing myself. And one thing that really helped my mind heal was reading philosophy. It's been said that one of the cures for a toxic mind is philosophy. I don't know who said that, but I remember reading that. And the more and more I dig deeper into philosophy, I just found myself loving it. Learning how to think, learning how to talk to people, learning how to not react to people but their ideas, that's really humbling. It's taught me a lot of lessons.
What friends did you have when you were at school?
So if it wasn't the gangs, I was usually a loner.
Oh.
Not gonna lie. Because if I wasn't kicking it with them, I was in the tutorial center trying to hide from them because I was trying to get my homework done. Because I was like in trigonometry. And I'm like, the homies can wait. I have a test later, Miss Wu. Es cabrona. Like straight up, she'll be like, you think, so she'll like, I graduated from UCLA. You will not use a calculator. I was like, chill, it's trig. I need a calculator. Like, no, that's why you have the what is it, the sine, cosine, and all that. I hated that. But yeah. Any more questions before you guys learn?
This is off topic, but
No,
it's one of my questions.
Go for it.
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food, to be quite honest with you, you're talking about here in America or out in the world?
In general.
In general, I can never say no to pizza. Never say no to pizza. I can be on a dieta and I'll be on a nice diet and everything, meal prepping. Come home, my mom always, te compré una pizza de Costco.
Oh my god.
Okay, thank you. Love you too, Mom. She likes it. I don't know why. Any last question? Yeah.
What kind of movies do you like?
Movies that I like, I went from going to like watching Fast and the Furious until they killed it with making it an action movie to more philosophical movies. I like the movie called Crazy Beautiful. It's an old one. I like another movie. The Matrix is a movie that I want to go to this day. Total geeking out right now. I know I'm a nerd. The Matrix has a lot of meaning to it. As you grow up, you keep watching that movie. It might not make sense, but every single thing on there has a significant meaning, and so it really did a lot for me. So yeah.
Just quote check. Pizza is your favorite food.
Let me correct that. Pizza is life. Yeah.
During your teenager age, who were you influenced to become?
Carlos Santana. I loved listening to Carlos Santana. Why? Because he was the only CD I had that I was smart enough to take with me when I flew from America to Central America, or from the States to Guatemala. And so I would play that thing and replay. Yeah. Any last questions before we run out of time?
Quote check, but
San Francisco. From San Francisco all the way down to Mountain View, we used to be called San Francisco. So that's why I say I'm from San Francisco, because Mountain View used to be San Francisco's dump. That's why it smells like crap. Yeah.
Did he go to college?
I'm in college right now.
Oh.
I'm working towards both my master's and my bachelor's at the same time. I'm in a program called the Scholars Program, which means that those people with the 3.5 GPA or higher in college can work towards getting both degrees at the same time. It is a pilot program that just started this year, and I'm proud to say that I'm one of the 50 who were selected, or one of the 50 that are in there. The whole school is trying out. I made it in. Anyone else?
I wasn't clear. Is the video connected to that, or it's just something completely different that you're doing?
The video? The video is going to be connected to it in some shape or form, because my mentors at SF State want to do something with mental health as well, and inspiration with not just the youth, but also my generation and also the professors. It's a little small thing we got going on in the philosophy department. All right, you guys.